Hi everyone, welcome to this podcast that I'm doing today. And I'm going to be exploring affirmations. I'm actually going to record a whole series of affirmations, and we'll put the time point in the bottom of the video in the transcript, so that when you want to listen to that, you can go back straight to the time point in which that starts. But I'm going to talk about why I decided to do a recording on the affirmations. So there's been some research about something called the quarter life crises. So it's something that I'm starting to notice in my work, working with people between average 20 to 30 years old, but it's become quite a theme in the work. So I've started doing a bit more research about that. And on another podcast, I'm going to go into a lot more detail about what that means, quarter life crises. Um, but this is about the tools, the kind of things that we can do when you find yourself experiencing any of the things that have been identified in the research and the crises that young people are facing. So this particular podcast is about one of the tools that I've used over the years and also taught many clients, whether that is in my one-to-one work or whether that is through the coaching groups or the yoga and meditation. And it's around affirmations. So, like I said, I'll put a time point to say this is where the affirmations start. So if you listen to it more than once, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about affirmations and why, how to use them, and why I believe they're important. But it starts with a story, really. Back in late 2015, I was running a service in a local authority in the UK. So I was overseeing a lot of programs around mental health and running a service where we had referrals coming in for young people and adults every week. And the service was going through a lot of changes, part of a wider system change. And we were moving into being managed by an external company, which was the first time that had happened in my career. So it was already a stressful job, but now in that transition of change and uncertainty that was created, we didn't really know what was going to happen next, but a lot of the staff who were really passionate about the changes that we wanted to see made so that people get access to good quality standard services, was something that we all were supporting. And yet over time, over the months that came, what was being said and how we were experiencing working in that environment was two very different things. And so the stress and levels of uncertainty increased, and some of the things that started to go on at work started to add to my own stress levels. And there are very different ways when we start to feel stressed that can support us, either when we identify that we're starting to feel stress, or we are stressed, or our stress levels increase to the point that we get into crises. Now, if anyone's going into crises, you need help straight away. You need to get support, because you can be in that state of overwhelmed. It's difficult to think, and it's difficult to sit down and practice mindfulness and meditation. But if you're already practicing mindfulness and meditation, using affirmations, doing yoga, meditation, things like that, then you can go into crises, but you'll have the tools to help you bounce back. May have more resilience. So this isn't specifically aimed at people in crisis. You need to get that support. Either go to your GP. If you're at school, go to the head of year. If you're at university, go and see your wellbeing support service. And if you're a parent, again, go to the GP, go to adult mental health, or sign up with a therapist. So this is about affirmations. And at the time, I'd already been practicing yoga and meditation for probably about a decade. But sometimes, no matter how many things that we do to support our well-being, when our stress levels at work or at home increase and there are factors outside of our control, then they may just stop us from drowning in that stress and those feelings. And I was kind of aware of the direction I was going. I'd had burnout twice. So I'd had several time points in my own personal history where I'd got really stressed. And so I was also aware that there were particular trains of thought to do with certain situations that were getting stuck in my mind. And often we call that circular thinking. And that circular thinking can be really detrimental if it's negative. And what they talk about in the law of attraction, and this is why I blend psychology and spirituality, is that, it doesn't take very long to start allowing those particular thoughts to come into your mind before more and more of those come in. And it's the same true otherwise. But most of us are well trained to be receptive and not even question why we're having all these negative thoughts, let alone reflecting on those and then applying some tools to be able to shift that. We don't realize how pervasive they are until there's a couple of exercises I do with people when I'm teaching at a workshop that helps them identify what's going on with their mind from moment to moment. So affirmations was one of the things that I'd come across, and mantras in my yoga practice. I was doing Kundalini yoga sessions and practicing at home. And I started to realize what I felt like when I was doing meditation and mindfulness, how much more peace I could feel, how I'd get insight and inspiration, how I would be able to manage things, feel in flow more, and not feel like the day was being consumed. However, I started to get to this point where the stress levels were rocketing. So, like I said, I had a particular train of thoughts, and I really struggled to release them, to let them go. So I was aware that I needed sometimes a higher level, a stronger action to meet the strength of what I was struggling with. And I come across this course with a lady in America, and there was one of the weeks that particularly appealed to me, and it was probably because I was doing the yoga and meditation already. And it was a set of mantras that you said, and you did it, I think, for the 30 days. So I decided to set myself a challenge of doing this for 30 days. As we often know in coaching and well-being, that you can do something for 30, 60, 90 days. You can really start to change behaviors if you focus on something every day. You build up the momentum, you also build up resilience, and over time they'll see from brain scanning techniques you can actually start to influence the structure of the brain and what's going on in your brain. So I thought I set myself a task, so I wasn't necessarily going to lie under a scanner at any time soon, but I wanted to get relief from this, what was pervasive thinking. And it's the pervasive thinking in depression and anxiety and people who end up with more serious mental health issues that can be one of the most gripping things to have to try and deal with. And people don't necessarily realize that these tools can massively help them. So the metaphor I often use with people is to consider Velcro, for example. So your thoughts can be like Velcro, where they come in and they stick, and another one comes in, another one comes in. And like I said, it's a bit like digging a hole on a sandy beach, but it's very dry sand. You dig the hole and the sand keeps coming in. The moment we entertain the thoughts double and treble. And then even more so if you're using any kind of substances, you can find yourself whirling down that black hole in space. So I recognized that, and I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. And I was practicing yoga anyway, most days, and decided to set myself the challenge. So I started using what was called the Mula mantra, and it's written in Sanskrit. So I had to learn how to pronounce it. But the focus on learning how to pronounce it, listening to the frequency music, and focusing hard on saying the verses is what meant I wasn't going to be pulled as easily off course. In the first few days, it was difficult. And so we'd say this mantra over and over again. And it took me about 20 minutes every morning to do this practice because there was 3 different mantras I was doing. And I was doing 108 of each one. And so it was interesting. I think I was aware that it took me quite a few days to really notice anything apart from the struggle to focus. Because it's like when we take up mindfulness and meditation, our focus can be drawn towards whatever the next thought is that comes in. And sometimes we get hooked onto that thought. We forget, I do, that we're trying to practice meditation and mindfulness. And I still do that. It's not like I do this all the time, every day, but I practice as much as I can, or I go through phases. And so those thoughts get hooked. So what we want to do really is have positive thoughts, different thoughts in our minds to give the mind something to work with. Because sitting there in silence and trying to get rid of everything that's bothering you, especially when you've got this Velcro type circular thinking, can be incredibly challenging for a lot of people. So what I've done is I've created some affirmations that relate to the key themes that are coming through the research that young people are experiencing. So I've created a mantra to tackle things around self-doubt and uncertainty, um, success, fears about building a future career, timelines, changes with resilience. And what you can do is once these are recorded, you can have a look at the transcript or the time points at the bottom and just choose 3 or 4. You could just say those every morning when you wake up, or you could choose more. You could set yourself a time and say, I'm just going to keep saying these. The key thing is doing something every day to get you focus on that, start to train the brain in a different way and to build up the momentum. And the more you build up the momentum, the more you get that flow. You go downriver rather than, going upstream against the tide. Things start to flow more easily. But this is unique to everyone. So just give it a go. Be a scientist in your own journey and see what it feels like. You have to give it quite a few days. I would recommend a week, 2 weeks. And you're only going to improve or win. It's a win-win. There's no real loss, apart from the idea that maybe you think you can't do it or it's not going to make any difference. So there are other tools that we've got that I'm going to post online as well. I've got some of the Sanskrit mantras that if you're practicing yoga, I'll go over some of those on a different video. And I'm also going to talk in more depth about this research on a different podcast or reflections section. So in order to do the affirmations, just get yourself in a comfortable place. And what you can do is listen to what I'm saying. And you can either keep listening to the recording or you can listen to the recording, choose the affirmations that you want to use that are personal to you, and then record yourself saying them. And then listen to that recording every day and even a few times a day. So if you feel yourself slipping down into a place of uncertainty, low mood and anxiety, then you can use the affirmations to support you. Sometimes it's difficult for people to connect with the words because when you are anxious or depressed, it can be quite a leap to move up into some of these statements. So find a few statements that you can resonate with enough to give it a go, and then just act as if, because language is really powerful. Language has a frequency, and language is really utilized and capitalized in things like NLP and hypnosis. So we know that it's really important to think about the way that we talk and the way that we talk to ourselves. So find somewhere comfortable, get in a relaxed position, and tune into the music. I'm going to do this a couple of times with different music in the background, and then just switch off. And hopefully you've got some space for the next 10 or 15 minutes. At the end of this, I leave the music playing so that you can let that resonance, the sound of the words, echo around the inside, internally reflect on that. If you find yourself drifting off, that's okay. The idea is that subliminally, we are influenced by different messages anyway. So just give it a go and see what works for you. If there are any times where you just feel uncomfortable, it doesn't feel right for you, then switch off and you can try something different. If you are in therapy, then talk to your therapist about how you're using, affirmations and mantras and journaling or any other work so that they can support you and work out what works for you, because they'll know you way more than I will. And if you do some journaling, it can be worth just noticing. You could scale on a scale of 1 to 10. 10's feeling really good and 1's not feeling good at all. You could scale. It's a personal number that you give it. You might say, I feel 7. I sort of feel all right, but I'm not feeling great. And then you can start to notice over the days whether or not that scale changes. And that's a good way of auditing and monitoring your own journey, your own success, and what works for you. Because undoubtedly, that's what's important. So, deep breath. Affirmations addressing the different factors in your life at the moment. I trust my journey and the process of growth. I am capable of overcoming any challenge that comes my way. I embrace uncertainty as a part of my development. I am discovering my true self one step at a time. My purpose is unfolding before me, and I am open to its guidance. I am worthy of pursuing my dreams and passions. I'm gentle with myself and my emotions. I'm allowed to feel my emotions without judgment. I prioritize my mental health and well-being. I'm constantly evolving and learning. I celebrate my progress, no matter how small. Every experience contributes to my growth. I define success on my own terms. I release the need to conform to others' expectations. I'm creating a life that aligns with my values and desires. I'm building a future career that suits my unique strengths. I'm capable of achieving financial stability through my efforts. Trust my hard work and perseverance will pay off. I attract supportive relationships into my life. I'm surrounded by people who uplift and encourage me. I communicate openly and honestly in my relationships. I am on my own unique timeline, and that's perfectly okay. I celebrate my achievements without comparing myself to others. I trust that everything is unfolding for me at the right time. I adapt to changes with resilience and flexibility. I find stability within myself amidst external changes. I contribute positively to my